going to take my jacket off because it's the first time I've experienced heating for a while. I can feel it. 71 degrees. Okay. Now I'm going to pass this around. The reason I'm going to pass this around is because the actual artifact is small, and now I think of it, that would have been excellent to pass around, but I have a photograph of it, and I'm going to pass this around and it will make sense later. So here it is. It is my private investigation license from 2002, something? It's my license to be a private investigator. And the story will make a lot of sense in about 7 minutes. The year was 1996 when I packed up my bag of tricks and moved to London town. I'd been in Sydney and Melbourne and all around and was frankly lost and bored and needed desperately a new playground. Landing in London, I had the highest hopes my pretty unsuccessful acting career would by miracle on Regent Street light up like a pretty chandelier. But I was nowhere near famous enough from my short stints on Home and Away to act Australian, as the many agents would say to me over double-bridged glasses, looking at me like I was the lower classes. Can you do an English accent, they asked. Of course I can. And I proceeded extremely half-assed into an accent that went all over Britain and ended up in India. They must have thought I had schizophrenia. I walked outside and sighed and was approached by a young man who said, "I've a modelling agency with whom you should sign." To which, as a thespian, I sighed, but desperate for a pound, I quickly came around, and after 18 months being sent to every casting, audition and go-see, they could see my modelling career was moving disastrously. I booked nothing. Working nights and weekends for £4 an hour was starting to sour. London, being a finance hub, I had lots of friends in numbers, and they always seemed to get the girls and the guys while getting high and living the high life. I wanted to be one of those guys. But I'd never done it, never tried, in fact, failed finance multiple times. I also hated those finance subjects. And yet here I was, wanting to bank some serious checks. So I decided to put my acting skills to the test and fake a CV. I'd been pretending to tend bar and stock shelves like I cared for months. How hard could it be? So my friends and I got together and started on Project Sam to pull off this giant scam. They taught me how to do their jobs over wine and Michelobs. It all went so far over my head, I may as well have been dead. We wrote my CV as the only thing it could be for this wannabe, a giant pile of steaming bullshittery. Sure, the banks I'd supposedly worked for were real banks, but they would never have heard of me should a reference or three be requested by somebody. That's when we decided my mates would be my referees. A genius move with personal cell numbers to numb the doubters. I sent my CV to an agency that places people with a bachelor's degree into fields where they succeeded naturally. Lo and behold, I got the call. They asked me to an interview where I was going to talk about jobs I'd never had, for banks I'd never heard of, for a job paying 150 grand. I spent the night before my meeting learning my CV like lines in a play. It was all new, and I knew there was no chance of a replay. The day of, I was shitting enough bricks to build the pyramids, so I did what anyone would do and went for a quick poo. and shortly after a vodka or two. Odorless, you see. The recruiter was a lovely woman who asked me what a day looked like at each bank I'd spent my Mondays to Fridays. Nervously and twitching unnaturally, I recited my CV like that play, but would it turn out to be a drama or a tragedy? Was I an actor or a liar? Who's the umpire? I walked out having bluffed the gatekeeper, at least according to this scorekeeper. But I knew if she sent me to a real finance company, someone there would see through my bullshit faster than the speed of light. That night, it was a Wednesday. My journalist friend had had a day, and I wanted to put out of my mind my resume. He invited me and my friend, whose name was Ollie conveniently, to a pub on Fleet Street where we could meet, greet, and drink for free thanks to the BBC. Oh, and drank we did, till closing bell around 11, and since I'd nothing to do the next day, I met with some more pals to play. We drank a whole lot more, hit the dance floor, and maybe I even took a pill with a Mitsubishi logo on its decor. The sun came up and I was in the burbs of London still drinking. What the hell was I thinking? As I headed home, feeling far from fly, a call on my phone. That recruiter I met, and she had good news. I got you a job without even an interview. Great money, great Scott. She bought it locked stock. I can start tomorrow first thing, I said, voice shaking. Here's the thing, she says. I told them I'd have them somewhere there first thing. High and drunk and needing sleep in a shower, walking into a job paying $100 an hour. Not to mention a job I had no right to have and no idea what to do. I was having trouble even counting to 2. Nevertheless, the actor that I was, I started pulling it together. Ran home, showered, and went back out into that cold weather. On the train to work, I fought off the wave of slumber. It was hitting me like a massive lumber. At 11 a.m., I roll off the train, looking and feeling like a crashed plane. I was seated with a girl in order to train. She spoke about 1,000,000 miles an hour, at least to my brain. Tick, tock, tick, tock. That fucking clock. That fucking clock. Every tick of the clock, every tick of the tock. So slow, so slow. I wonder when I'll be busted. Someone surely will fire me disgusted. Good first day, see you tomorrow, the boss says to me, clearly smoking wacky tobacco. I left feeling like a fucking dynamo. When I got home, I gathered my crew, my team, to drink to our success. I'd made more money in 6 hours than a get-rich scheme. As we celebrated and chinked and guzzled to our unlikely project, I found the night previous once again about to be in full effect. And with all my thanks and good graces, I looked straight at their faces and went the hell to bed. I have a job to learn with a clear head. I learned the job and did the job for over 9 months and got promoted instead. Even when I left to travel, they didn't want me to leave. I was pretty good at this line, I started to believe. So why is this relic my private investigator license? Well, who better to uncover an elaborate scheme than the person whose elaborate scheme came to yield so much cream?